Admiral Sarah Chen walked through the crystal halls of the Galactic Council building. The walls sparkled like diamonds in the artificial sunlight. She had been on Nexus Prime for 3 months now, and the beauty of this place still took her breath away. Every surface gleamed with perfection. The air smelled like fresh flowers. It was paradise. She smiled as she passed a group of Zephyrian diplomats. Their blue skins shimmered as they nodded respectfully at her. The tall, thin aliens had welcomed humanity with open arms 50 years ago. They said humans were special. They said humans belonged here among the stars. Sarah reached the main council chamber and took her seat at the human delegation table. Around her sat representatives from 12 ancient alien races. The Christek Empire delegates looked like living gemstones. The Vorthak moved as one mind, speaking in perfect unison. The Altarians floated in their energy suits. Each race had ruled parts of the galaxy for thousands of years. Today marks a historic moment, announced Councillor Vex, the Zephyrian leader. His voice echoed in Sarah's mind through telepathy. We will sign the Enhanced Cooperation Treaty. This will bring our species closer together than ever before. Sarah felt proud. Humanity had come so far. Just 200 years ago, they were stuck on one small planet. Now they had colonies across 50 star systems. Their ships explored the galaxy alongside these ancient civilizations. Their soldiers fought beside alien warriors to keep peace in the galaxy. The treaty documents appeared on her desk hologram. Sarah read through the terms carefully. More joint military exercises, shared technology programs, human ships would help patrol dangerous sectors of space. It all seemed reasonable. After 50 years of friendship, why wouldn't it be? What Sarah didn't know was that in a secret chamber deep below the council building, 12 alien leaders met in shadows. The room had no windows, no recording devices, no witnesses except themselves. The humans grow stronger every day, hissed General Krath of the Vorthak Hive. Their population doubles every 20 years. Their technology advances faster than ours. Their military tactics are unlike anything we have seen, added Prime Crystal Zex. They do not fight like civilized beings. They fight like wild animals. Councillor Vex nodded slowly. We have studied them for 100 years. Before first contact, during the integration period, they are dangerous beyond measure. The other leaders shifted uncomfortably. They remembered the reports from the Proxima Centauri incident. A small human colony had been attacked by space pirates. The human response was swift and terrible. They didn't just defeat the pirates. They hunted down every pirate base in 3-star systems. They destroyed every ship. They eliminated every trace of the pirate clans. In 6 months, they turned a minor border incident into the complete extinction of their enemies. They call it total war, whispered Admiral Thex of the Altarian fleet. They do not stop fighting until their enemies are completely destroyed. And now they have 300 warships, said General Krath. Soon it will be 500, then 1,000. What happens when they decide we are their enemies? The question hung in the air like poison. Every alien leader knew the answer. They had all seen what humans did to their enemies. The plan is already in motion, Councillor Vex said. Their ships are scattered across the galaxy on patrol missions. Earth itself has only basic defenses. When we strike, it will be over quickly. Are you certain? Asked Prime Crystal Zex. The humans are cunning. They may have hidden defenses. We have watched them for 50 years, Vex replied. We know every ship, every base, every weapon. They trust us completely. They share their military secrets with us. They believe we are friends. The alien leaders looked at each other. None of them felt good about what they were planning. But they all agreed it was necessary. Humans were too dangerous to live alongside, too violent, too aggressive, too willing to fight until their enemies were dead. When do we begin? Asked Admiral Thex. Tomorrow, Vex said. After the treaty is signed, while they celebrate their closer friendship with us. Back in the council chamber, Sarah signed the treaty with a smile. The ceremony was beautiful. Holographic fireworks filled the air. Alien musicians played peaceful songs. The other delegates congratulated her warmly. This is a great day for all our species, said Councillor Vex as he shook her hand. Together we will build a better galaxy. Sarah agreed completely. She sent a message to Earth telling them about the successful treaty signing. She scheduled meetings with military planners to discuss the new joint operations. She even ordered champagne for the human delegation's celebration dinner. She had no idea that alien warships were already moving into position around human colonies. She didn't know that every joint military exercise had been carefully planned to separate human ships from each other. She couldn't imagine that the species she trusted were preparing to commit genocide. That night, Sarah stood on her apartment balcony looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, human families were sleeping peacefully in their homes. Human children were dreaming of becoming space explorers. Human scientists were working on new discoveries to share with their alien friends. The irony was terrible. Humans had always been suspicious of aliens. When first contact happened, most people on Earth expected war. The military prepared for invasion. Scientists worried about alien diseases. Politicians feared alien control. But the Galactic Council had been so welcoming, so peaceful, so eager to share knowledge and friendship. Over 50 years, humans had learned to trust them. The suspicion faded. The fear disappeared. Humanity opened its arms to the galaxy. Now that trust would destroy them. Sarah's communicator buzzed with an urgent message from Earth. She read it quickly and frowned. Long-range sensors had detected unusual ship movements in several sectors. Large alien fleets were gathering near human colonies. The patterns looked suspicious. She immediately contacted Counselor Vex. "We're seeing some strange fleet movements," she said. "Is everything all right?" Vex's reply came instantly. "Nothing to worry about, Admiral Chen. We are conducting surprise readiness exercises, testing our response times. Your colonies are perfectly safe." Sarah felt relieved. Of course it was just exercises. The Council always ran military drills. They were very careful about galactic security. "Thank you for letting me know," she said. "I'll inform Earth that everything is normal." Vex smiled as he ended the communication. Everything was proceeding perfectly. The human admiral suspected nothing. In 12 hours, the first attacks would begin. By this time tomorrow, humanity would be nothing but a memory. But Counselor Vex and his allies had made one critical mistake. They believed they understood humans. They thought 50 years of peaceful cooperation had shown them everything about human nature. They assumed that scattered fleet positions would leave humanity helpless. They were wrong. Deep in the mountains of Earth, in bunkers that officially didn't exist, ancient computers were already processing the sensor data. Secret protocols were activating. Hidden weapons were powering up. Humanity had learned to trust the Galactic Council, but they had never learned to trust completely. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when you betrayed the one species that truly understood the meaning of total war. Captain Marcus Rodriguez stared at his sensor display in disbelief. 3 hours ago, his ship had been alone in the Kepler system, running a routine patrol mission. Now 27 alien warships surrounded the UES Defiance. They had appeared without warning, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in perfect attack formation. "Sir, we're receiving the same reports from every human ship in the sector," his communications officer said, her voice shaking. "They're all surrounded. No warnings given, no demands made." Marcus felt ice in his stomach. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a training exercise gone wrong. This was a coordinated attack on every human position in the galaxy. "Get me a channel to the lead Christek ship," he ordered. The alien commander appeared on his screen. The crystalline being's face showed no emotion. "Captain Rodriguez, you will surrender your vessel immediately." "What is the meaning of this?" Marcus demanded. "We have a peace treaty. We're allies. The treaty is ended. Humanity is now considered a threat to galactic security. You have 10 minutes to abandon your ship." The channel closed. Marcus looked around his bridge at his crew of 43 humans. Good people. Loyal officers. They had families back on Earth in the colonies. They had trusted the aliens just like everyone else. "All ships, this is Captain Rodriguez," he broadcast on the emergency frequency. "We are under attack by Council forces. Repeat, the Council has turned hostile. This appears to be a coordinated strike against all human positions." Similar messages were flooding in from across the galaxy. Captain Kim in the Vega system reported 30 alien ships attacking her lone cruiser. Commander Jackson at the Proxima station was evacuating civilian transports while under bombardment. Every human ship, every human base, every human colony was under simultaneous assault. The scope was overwhelming. This wasn't a sudden decision. This was planned. Carefully planned. For months or maybe years. On Nexus Prime, Admiral Sarah Chen watched the reports pour in from the Council's command center. She had been invited to observe the military exercise from the main tactical display. Now she understood why. You're murdering them, she whispered as she watched human ships explode on the holographic display. They trusted you. We all trusted you. Counselor Vex stood beside her, no longer bothering to hide his true feelings. Trust was your weakness, Admiral. You shared everything with us. Your ship positions, your weapon specifications, your defense plans. You made this easy. Sarah tried to reach for her communicator, but Vorthak guards grabbed her arms. She struggled against them as she watched more human ships die. Let me warn them, she screamed. At least let me warn Earth. Earth already knows, Vex said calmly. Our main fleet is arriving there now. On the tactical display, Sarah could see the largest military force ever assembled. 12,000 ships from all council races were converging on Earth's solar system. Her homeworld looked tiny and helpless against the massive alien armada. You can't do this, she said, tears streaming down her face. There are 8 billion people on Earth, billions more on the colonies. They're innocent. They're human, Vex replied. That makes them dangerous. We should have done this 50 years ago. Sarah managed to activate her emergency transmitter before the guards could stop her. Earth, this is Admiral Chen. The Council has betrayed us. They planned this from the beginning. They're coming to kill everyone. Earth, prepare for... A Zephyrian guard crushed the device with his mind powers. Sarah's warning was cut short, but the message had reached Earth's defense networks. On Earth, President Elena Vasquez was in an emergency meeting when Admiral Chen's transmission arrived. The room fell silent as they heard their most trusted diplomat's desperate warning. How long until the alien fleet arrives? The president asked. 6 hours, ma'am, replied General Morrison, head of Earth's defense forces. Our orbital platforms are powering up, but we're facing 12,000 ships. We have maybe 300 defenders in the solar system. What about our fleet, scattered across the galaxy? Under attack. Most of them are already destroyed. President Vasquez closed her eyes. The nightmare scenario they had planned for but never believed would happen. Total war against a superior enemy. No time to recall their ships. No allies to call for help. No hope of victory through conventional means. Activate Project Lazarus, she said quietly. General Morrison's face went pale. Ma'am, are you certain? Once we activate Lazarus, there's no going back. They started this war by trying to genocide our entire species, the president replied. They're about to learn what we do to enemies who threaten human extinction. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, machines that had waited for 50 years began to wake up. Fusion reactors came online, computer systems activated. Hangar doors that had been sealed since construction began to open. The first alien ships entered Earth's solar system like conquerors. They had easily destroyed the outer defense platforms. Earth's regular fleet was fighting bravely but hopelessly. The planet's shield generators were failing under concentrated bombardment. Admiral Kex of the Altarian fleet commanded the attack from his flagship. Everything was proceeding perfectly. Earth's defenses were primitive compared to Council technology. The human homeworld would fall within hours. Concentrate fire on the military installations, he ordered. Leave the civilian areas for now. We want them to see their protectors fail before we finish them. The bombardment intensified. Earth cities shook as energy beams struck military bases. Spaceports exploded in brilliant flashes. Communication arrays went dark. It looked like humanity's death was only minutes away. Then Admiral Kex's sensors detected something impossible. Ships were launching from Earth's moon. But there weren't supposed to be any ships there. Intelligence reports showed only mining stations and research facilities on Luna. What are those vessels? He demanded. His tactical officer's voice was confused. Unknown design, sir. They don't match any human ship in our database. The new ships were black as space itself. They moved faster than any human vessel the Council had ever seen. And there were 50 of them rising from hidden bases on the lunar surface. Admiral Jackson Kane commanded the lead ship from his bridge aboard the UES Retribution. His crew had trained for this day their entire careers, but none of them had wanted it to come. They watched Earth burning below them and felt something the aliens didn't understand. Not fear, not despair, pure focused rage. All Shadow Fleet vessels, this is Admiral Kane, he broadcast on the secret military frequency. Project Lazarus is now active. Target the enemy command ships. Show them what happens when they threaten human extinction. The Shadow Fleet opened fire with weapons the Council had never seen. Antimatter torpedoes that could crack moons. Particle beams that cut through energy shields like paper. The Altarian flagship Admiral Kex commanded exploded in a ball of white fire that lit up half the solar system. But Admiral Kane's ships were just the beginning. Across the galaxy, other hidden human assets were activating. Sleeper ships that had waited in dark space for decades. Secret weapons platforms disguised as asteroids. AI viruses that were spreading through Council computer networks. The aliens had planned their genocide carefully. They had thought of everything, except for one critical factor. They didn't understand that humans were the one species in the galaxy that had never stopped preparing for war. Even during 50 years of peace, even while trusting their alien friends, humanity had been ready for betrayal. The trap had been sprung. But the Council was about to discover they had trapped themselves with the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. Admiral Jackson Kane watched Earth's surface through his ship's cameras as the UES Retribution rose from its hidden lunar base. Cities were burning. Millions of humans were dying. The Council's genocide was proceeding exactly as planned, but the aliens celebrating their easy victory had no idea what they had just awakened. "Sir, all Shadow Fleet vessels are ready for combat," reported his tactical officer. "Project Lazarus systems are fully online," Kane nodded grimly. For 50 years, while humanity appeared to trust the Council completely, Earth's military had been preparing for this exact scenario. They called it the Betrayal Protocol. Every species humanity had ever encountered had eventually shown hostility. The Council would be no different. "Launch the Rage virus," Kane ordered. "Target every Council ship in the system." His cyber warfare specialist's fingers danced across her console. "Virus deployed, sir." Using their own communication channels to spread it. The Rage virus wasn't biological. It was humanity's most dangerous artificial intelligence, designed specifically for total warfare. While the Council believed they understood human technology, they had never seen humanity's true weapons. The virus spread through enemy networks like wildfire, turning their own computers against them. On the Council flagship, Councilor Vex felt the first signs of system failure. Navigation went offline. Weapons targeting became erratic. Ship-to-ship communication started broadcasting strange signals instead of orders. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Unknown malfunction, sir," his technician replied. "It's spreading to other ships. Some kind of computer virus." Vex's blood went cold. The humans had hidden capabilities. Real capabilities. The scattered defense they were seeing wasn't humanity's last stand. It was their opening move. Across the galaxy, Captain Sarah Kim received the activation signal in the Vega system. Her ship, the UES Vengeance, had been hiding in dark space for 3 years. Officially listed as destroyed in a training accident, now she brought 200 hidden vessels out of stealth mode. "All ships, this is Captain Kim. Begin Operation Extinction. No prisoners, no mercy, no survivors." The Zephyrian patrol fleet that had been celebrating their easy victory over human positions suddenly found themselves under attack by ships that shouldn't exist. Kim's vessels carried weapons that violated every galactic warfare treaty. Weapons humanity had never admitted to building. The first antimatter torpedo struck the Zephyrian flagship and turned it into atomic particles. The explosion was so bright it could be seen from 3 star systems away. The other alien ships tried to flee, but Kim's vessels were faster. One by one, they were hunted down and destroyed. "Send a message to the Zephyrian homeworld," Kim ordered. "Tell them this is just the beginning." On Earth, the tide of battle was turning rapidly. The Council fleet that had seemed unstoppable an hour ago was now in chaos. Their computer systems were infected. Their communications were compromised. Mysterious human ships were appearing from hidden bases all over the solar system. Admiral Kane's shadow fleet tore through the alien formations like wolves among sheep. Each human vessel carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. But their most devastating weapon wasn't technology. It was their absolute commitment to victory. "Admiral, the Christek Empire is requesting a ceasefire," reported his communications officer. Kane's expression didn't change. "Denied. Continue the attack." "Sir, they're trying to surrender. They started a genocide," Kane replied coldly. "They don't get to surrender. They get to die." The humans fought like nothing the Council had ever encountered. Other species fought until victory became unlikely, then negotiated. Humans fought until their enemies stopped existing. When alien ships tried to retreat, human vessels pursued them. When enemy commanders offered terms, human captains responded with more firepower. Within 6 hours, the massive Council fleet at Earth was reduced to scrap metal floating in space. 12,000 ships had become debris fields. The few aliens who escaped in life pods were left to drift in the vacuum. No rescue, no capture, no mercy, but Earth was just one battle. Across the galaxy, the real scope of humanity's deception was becoming clear. Every exploration mission had secretly placed sleeper weapons in dark space. Every scientific expedition had built hidden bases. Every cultural exchange had been a spy operation. The Vorthak Hive discovered this when their core worlds came under attack by weapons platforms that had been disguised as asteroids for decades. The platforms activated simultaneously, unleashing planet-cracking bombs that turned 3 Vorthak worlds into radioactive wastelands. The Altarian Empire found human ships emerging from the gas giant atmospheres where they had been hiding for years. These vessels carried experimental weapons that fed on stellar energy, becoming more powerful as they fought. Most terrifying of all were the biological weapons. The Council had always believed their different evolutionary paths made them safe from human diseases. They were wrong. Humanity had spent decades developing species-specific viruses, nanoplagues that targeted alien biology with surgical precision. The Christek Empire, proud of their silicon-based immunity to organic weapons, watched in horror as their people turned to glass. Human nanites designed for crystalline biology were eating them from the inside, converting their living crystal bodies into lifeless sculptures. The telepathic Zephyrians found their mental networks overloaded by AI constructs broadcasting pure human rage directly into their minds. The psychological weapon drove entire populations insane, their telepathic abilities turning against them. But humanity's most effective weapon was their refusal to stop. The Council had expected a war with rules, negotiated terms, civilized conduct. Instead, they faced an enemy that fought with the single goal of complete extinction. Admiral Rodriguez, whose ship had been destroyed in the opening attack, now commanded a rebuilt fleet of vessels that had risen from hidden construction facilities. His new ship, the UES Defiance II, was twice the size of his original vessel and carried weapons that could sterilize planets. "Sir, we've eliminated all Council forces in the Kepler sector," his tactical officer reported. "What are our next orders?" "Find their colonies," Rodriguez replied. "All of them, military and civilian. We're not just winning this war, we're ending it permanently." The systematic elimination began immediately. Human forces didn't just attack military targets. They erased entire civilizations. Council worlds that had existed for thousands of years were reduced to lifeless rocks. Species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia were hunted to extinction. On Nexus Prime, Admiral Sarah Chen was forced to watch the destruction from the Council Command Center. The tactical displays showed the scope of the catastrophe. Entire star systems going dark. Council fleets being systematically destroyed. Alien homeworlds burning. "You have to stop them," she begged Counselor Vex. "Surrender, negotiate, something." Vex stared at the displays in shock. "We tried to communicate with your ships. They won't answer. They just keep attacking." "Because you tried to commit genocide," Sarah said. "You started a war of extinction. Now you're getting one." The truth was dawning on the surviving Council leaders. They had unleashed something they didn't understand. Humans weren't just another aggressive species. They were the galaxy's apex predators, and 50 years of peaceful cooperation had been nothing but camouflage. The war they had started to eliminate humanity was becoming humanity's war to eliminate them. And there was no force in the galaxy that could stop it. The message broadcast across every communication channel in the galaxy. Admiral Jackson Kane's voice echoed from Council military networks, civilian frequencies, even personal communication devices. The rage virus had infected everything, and now humanity was using the alien infrastructure to announce their intentions. "People of the galaxy," Kane began, his words translated into 1,000 alien languages. "The Galactic Council has attempted to commit genocide against humanity. They believed they could exterminate our species while we trusted them as friends. They were wrong. On distant worlds, alien civilians stopped their daily activities to listen. Farmers dropped their tools. Students looked up from their studies. Parents held their children closer as the human admiral continued. This is not war as you understand it. This is extinction. We will not stop until every Council species is eliminated. We will not negotiate. We will not show mercy. We will not rest until the galaxy understands what happens to those who threaten human survival. The transmission ended, but its impact spread like a shockwave. Across the galaxy, non-council species that had remained neutral suddenly faced a terrifying choice: submit to humanity or risk sharing the council's fate. Captain Sarah Kim received the first surrender request while her fleet was approaching the Zephyrian homeworld. The hegemony of Tau Ceti, a collection of peaceful trading worlds, offered complete submission to human authority. Accept their surrender, Kim ordered her communications officer, but make it clear that submission means exactly that: complete obedience. Any resistance will be met with total destruction. The pattern repeated everywhere. Minor species that had watched the Council's attempted genocide with horror now prostrated themselves before human fleets. They offered their technology, their resources, their very existence in exchange for survival. But the Council species received no such mercy. Admiral Rodriguez approached the Altarian homeworld with 300 ships. The planet below was beautiful, covered in floating cities that danced among the clouds. Millions of Altarians lived in those aerial metropolises, most of them civilians who had played no part in the genocide attempt. "Sir, the Altarian government is requesting negotiations," his communications officer reported. "They're offering unconditional surrender." Rodriguez studied the peaceful world below. In another time, he might have felt regret for what was about to happen. But he remembered the reports from Earth. 8 billion humans had been under attack. Children had died in the orbital bombardments. Entire cities had been targeted for destruction. "No negotiations," he said quietly. "Begin planetary bombardment." The Altarian homeworld died in 6 hours. The floating cities fell burning from the sky. The oceans boiled. The atmosphere ignited. When the bombardment ended, nothing lived on the planet's surface. Another council species was extinct. On the Christek Empire's core worlds, the silicon-based aliens discovered that their greatest strength had become their weakness. Human nanites designed specifically for crystalline biology were spreading like a plague. The Christek's living crystal bodies were turning to ordinary glass, their consciousness fading as their molecular structure collapsed. Prime Crystal Zex, leader of the Empire, sent desperate messages to every human ship in range. "We surrender. We renounce our part in the Council's actions. Please have mercy." The response came from Admiral Kane himself. "You participated in attempted genocide. The penalty is extinction. No exceptions." The Christek Empire, which had ruled 17 star systems for 3,000 years, ceased to exist in 2 weeks. Their worlds became silent museums of glass statues, frozen monuments to the price of threatening humanity. The Vorthak Hive faced a different kind of destruction. As a collective consciousness, they thought they could adapt to any threat. They were wrong. Human psychological warfare specialists had developed weapons specifically for hive minds, viral memes that corrupted their shared thoughts, logic bombs that shattered their unity, chaos algorithms that turned their perfect coordination into madness. General Krath, the Vorthak military leader, felt his people's collective mind fragmenting as the human weapons took effect. Individual Vorthak began acting independently for the first time in their species' history. The hive was becoming a collection of confused, terrified individuals who no longer knew how to function alone. "What have you done to us?" he transmitted to the approaching human fleet. Captain Martinez of the UES Retribution 2 answered personally. "We gave you what you tried to give us, extinction. The only difference is we're better at it." The systematic elimination continued month after month. The Council had ruled the galaxy for millennia, but human warfare was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Other species fought for territory or resources. Humans fought for the complete obliteration of their enemies. The galaxy's other civilizations watched in fascination and terror. Some species that had been oppressed by the Council celebrated humanity's victory. Others worried about what kind of rulers these violent humans would become. But all of them understood the new reality. Humanity was now the dominant power, and they had achieved that dominance through methods that redefined warfare itself. On Earth, President Vasquez received regular reports from the front lines. The planet was healing from the Council's attack, but the scars ran deep. Entire cities had been destroyed. Millions had died. The orbital bombardment had caused environmental damage that would take decades to repair. "How many Council species remain?" she asked General Morrison during their daily briefing. "3, ma'am. the Zephyrians, the Mollusk Confederacy, and the energy beings of Andromeda. Our fleets are approaching their homeworlds now. Any attempts at negotiation? Constant attempts. They're offering everything they have. Technology, territory, slaves, even their own extinction if we'll spare their civilians. The president was quiet for a long moment. The old Sarah would have considered mercy. The old humanity might have been satisfied with victory. But the Council's betrayal had changed something fundamental in human nature. They had learned that trust was a weakness their enemies would exploit. They had learned that mercy was a luxury they couldn't afford. No negotiations, she said finally. Complete extinction. We can't risk any survivors seeking revenge in the future. The Zephyrian homeworld was the last to fall. Counselor Vex, who had orchestrated humanity's attempted genocide, found himself trapped in his capital city as human ships surrounded the planet. He had watched his allies die one by one. He had seen species older than human civilization reduced to nothing. Admiral Chen, who had been his prisoner since the war began, stood with him in his command center. The human diplomat looked older now, hardened by months of witnessing genocide. "You could have been our friends," she said as the bombardment began. "We trusted you. We shared everything with you. We believed in galactic cooperation." Vex watched his world burning. "We were afraid of you. Your violence, your expansion, your refusal to accept limitations. You were right to be afraid," Chen replied. "But you should have been afraid of what you would create by betraying us, not what we were naturally." The last Zephyrian city fell as the sun set on their homeworld. With its destruction, the Galactic Council ceased to exist. 12 ancient species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years were now extinct. Their worlds were empty. Their ships were scrap metal. Their names would soon be forgotten. Humanity had not just won the war. They had redefined what victory meant. In 18 months, they had transformed from a trusted junior partner in galactic civilization to the undisputed rulers of known space. And they had achieved this transformation through methods so absolute that no one would ever dare challenge them again. The galaxy belonged to humanity now, and everyone in it understood exactly what happened to those who threatened human survival. 2 years after the Council's betrayal, Admiral Jackson Kane stood on the observation deck of the UES Dominion, humanity's new flagship. Through the massive viewing window, he could see the ruins of Nexus Prime floating in space. The crystalline city that had once housed the Galactic Council was now a twisted monument of melted metal and shattered dreams. The war was over. The Galactic Council no longer existed. Their 12 species had been systematically eliminated from the galaxy. But the victory felt hollow as Kane watched construction crews placing a memorial plaque among the ruins. "Installation complete, sir," reported the construction chief over the communicator. "The monument is ready for your inspection." Kane took a shuttle to the ruins of the council chamber where Admiral Chen had been held prisoner during the war's early days. The plaque was simple, made from earth steel and carved with words in both human languages and the dead alien scripts of the extinct species. "Here lies the Galactic Council," it read. "They learned too late that humanity's greatest strength was never our technology. It was our capacity for absolute conviction." Below those words in smaller text was a warning for any future civilizations that might discover this place. They sought to commit genocide. They achieved evolution. We are no longer the species that trusted. Admiral Sarah Chen, now freed from her captivity, joined Kane at the memorial. Her hair had turned gray during the war, and her eyes held a weariness that came from witnessing the extinction of entire civilizations. "Do you ever regret what we became?" she asked. Kane considered the question carefully. Around them, the galaxy was indeed changing. Former council worlds were being terraformed for human colonization. Alien technologies were being reverse-engineered and improved. The surviving species had accepted vassal status under human rule. "I regret that it was necessary," he said finally, "but I don't regret that we survived. The council forced us to choose between our extinction and theirs. We chose correctly." Reports from across human space confirmed the transformation. Captain Sarah Kim, now Admiral of the Pacification Fleet, sent regular updates about the integration of surviving alien populations. The species that had surrendered early were treated well. They kept their cultures, their traditions, even their governments. But everyone understood the new hierarchy. Humanity ruled. Everyone else served. The hegemony of Tau Ceti had become a model for this new relationship. Their traders now carried human goods across the galaxy. Their scientists worked in human research facilities. Their children learned human languages alongside their own. In return, they received protection and prosperity under human authority. The arrangement works well, reported Admiral Kim during a conference call with Earth. The alien populations understand their place. No resistance. No rebellion. Complete cooperation. Other species had learned from the Council's example. When the Corvan Republic, a distant civilization that had never met humans before, encountered human exploration fleets, their first action was immediate surrender. They offered their entire civilization to human rule without being asked. The psychological impact of humanity's absolute victory was spreading faster than human ships could explore. Stories of the Council's extinction traveled between alien worlds like wildfire. Species that had never heard of Earth knew that somewhere in the galaxy lived a race that had completely destroyed their enemies. On Earth, President Vasquez reviewed the final casualty reports in her office. The numbers were staggering, but not in the way anyone had expected at the war's beginning. Human losses, 847 million dead from the initial Council attack. Terrible, but far less than the complete extinction the aliens had planned. Council losses, 100% of military forces, 100% of civilian populations, 100% of their species. Complete extinction across 12 different evolutionary lines. The galaxy is ours now, General Morrison said during their final war briefing. No hostile forces remain. No potential threats have been identified. Humanity has achieved total dominance of known space. But dominance came with responsibility. The extinct Council species had ruled hundreds of worlds and billions of alien subjects. Now humanity had inherited that responsibility. They were no longer just survivors of attempted genocide. They were the galaxy's apex civilization. The transformation was visible everywhere. Human colonies were expanding rapidly onto former Council worlds. Earth's population was spreading across 1,000 star systems. Human technology was advancing exponentially as alien innovations were absorbed and improved. Most importantly, humanity itself was changing. The species that had trusted the Council's friendship no longer existed. In its place was something harder, more suspicious, infinitely more dangerous. They had learned that in a galaxy full of potential enemies, there was only one safe position: absolute dominance. Admiral Kane received a final report from the Monument Construction Project. 12 worlds, one for each extinct Council species, had been converted into massive memorial structures, not to honor the dead, but to remind future generations of what happened to those who threatened humanity. Each monument world carried the same message in every known language. They sought to commit genocide. They achieved evolution. We are no longer the species that trusted. We are the species that survived. And in surviving, we became something the galaxy had never seen before, a civilization whose mercy was extinction and whose forgiveness was obliteration. The monuments served their purpose. When alien children learned about the Great War, they understood its lesson immediately. Humanity was not cruel by nature, but they were absolute in their response to threats. Cross them and face extinction, serve them, and prosper under their protection. Visiting diplomats from distant civilizations would tour the monument worlds as part of their introduction to human space. They would see the empty planets where mighty empires once thrived. They would read the warnings carved into stone and metal. They would return to their homeworlds with a clear understanding of the new galactic order. As Admiral Kane prepared to leave Nexus Prime for the final time, he received a communication from Earth. A new exploration fleet was preparing to launch beyond the galaxy's edge, seeking contact with civilizations in distant star clusters. "What are the mission parameters?" he asked. "Standard first contact protocols," came the reply. "Establish peaceful relations if possible. Assess technological capabilities. Determine threat levels," Kane smiled grimly. The old humanity had approached first contact with hope and trust. The new humanity approached it with caution and overwhelming force. Every exploration ship now carried enough firepower to sterilize a solar system. Every diplomatic mission included military advisors trained in total warfare. They would offer friendship to any species they encountered. But that friendship came with an unspoken understanding: accept human leadership or face human wrath. There was no middle ground. The Council had taught humanity that lesson at the cost of their own existence. The galaxy was at peace now. a human peace enforced by human strength, protected by human vigilance. The species that had survived the Great Transformation lived well under human rule. They traded freely, developed their cultures, raised their children in safety. All they had to give up was the illusion that they were equals to humanity. It was a fair trade. The alternative was extinction. As the UES Dominion departed Nexus Prime for the last time, Admiral Kane looked back at the memorial floating among the ruins. Future generations of humans would visit this place to remember where they came from. They would learn about the species that had trusted too easily and nearly died for that trust. They would learn that trust was earned, not given. That friendship was conditional, not absolute. That in a galaxy full of potential threats, survival required not just strength, but the willingness to use that strength without hesitation or regret. The Council had wanted to teach humanity a lesson about power and its limitations. Instead, they had taught humanity about power and its proper application. The lesson had cost them everything, but it had transformed humanity into something the galaxy had never seen before. The apex predator. The final authority. The species that had learned to survive by ensuring that anyone who threatened their survival simply ceased to exist. The galaxy belonged to humanity now. And it would continue to belong to humanity, for as long as they remembered the price of trust and the value of absolute conviction.